Hello, everybody, and welcome to What the Hell Should I Watch? I'm Steve Stebbing,
And I'm Chloe Stebbing.
and we are the weekly show of what we're watching, which may become what you're watching over this weekend and the next week. And last week, I was kind of tepid, I guess. I was not feeling the movie that I was going to go see. And is it fresh? I don't know. But it's for your eyeballs, and it is The Strangers Chapter 1. I don't know where you sit with The Strangers or The Strangers Pray at Night, the first two films that precede this one.
I really enjoyed them. Yeah, I really enjoyed them. I thought that they were super fun films. I liked the casting for both of them.
Mm-hmm.
And I just thought that they were an interesting take on the slasher film.
Yeah, yeah. Home invasion slasher.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah.
And I dig the mask design, even though we just essentially get a version of Baghead.
Yeah.
But I like his mask and the two ladies' masks. I really dig as well. Um, so and the second film, Pray at Night, is way better than it had any business being, because I remember seeing the advanced screening of that before reviewing it or for reviewing it. And I didn't know how I really felt about the movie going into it, because it was directed by Johannes Roberts, who really just did the 47 meters down, the shark movie with
I like those movies.
I did not like the second movie at all. I thought the second movie like took it too far. There's a
Right.
lot of stuff in the second movie that I thought was a little much. The first movie was solid. It was a solid film. But I didn't know what he was going to do with this one, with Pray at Night, and I really enjoyed it. There's a lot of stylish stuff in it that I really like. There's some neon stuff in it as far as cinematography goes that I really liked in that film. But when I saw that The Strangers Chapter 1 was directed by Rennie Harlin, a guy who I even looked this up, he hasn't had a good film since 1999. And even that film is questionable because it's Deep Blue Sea. I don't know if you've ever seen this. It's a shark movie as well, coincidentally. But it's like super smart sharks. LL Cool J was in it. Thomas Jane was in it. He was the Punisher. Um, and it was like this kind of B movie with a high budget that was terrible, but still had fans. It still has a fan base to it. It still has
Right.
people that really love it. But that was the last great film that Rennie Harlin did. As far as me, I'm an action kid, so he did Die Hard 2, and he did Cliffhanger. So Bruce Willis in a Stallone film, like a classic Stallone film as well. And he did Nightmare on Elm Street Dream Warrior, I think. If you haven't gone through the Nightmare on Elm Street films, then that will mean absolutely nothing to you.
I just know the basics. Like I saw the first one and I think that's it.
You didn't continue down. The second one is either intentionally or unintentionally very gay. It's an interesting film. There's actually a documentary about it called Scream Queen Scream. That's actually really good. It's a good documentary.
Okay.
But anyway, Strangers, this is proposed as a three film arc in this Strangers style story. But let's let you tell us what the synopsis of it is.
After their car breaks down in an eerie small town, a young couple is forced to spend the night in a remote cabin. Panic ensues as they are terrorized by three masked strangers who strike with no mercy and seemingly no motive. Starring Madeleine Pesch and Froy Gutierrez, directed by Rennie Harlin.
Yes, the aforementioned Rennie Harlin, and Madeline Page is from Riverdale, I believe.
Riverdale, yeah.
Yeah, I believe she's a main character on that show, I believe,
Yeah,
or
she's
was a
Cheryl.
main character. Okay. Oh, Cheryl Blossom. Okay, she's definitely a mainish character. I have never seen Froy Gutierrez before, but they immediately make his character not very likable. Like, and it's in all the cliche ways. This film has a really bad script, and it leans into all of the predictable tropes. And that isn't even its biggest fault. The biggest fault is it's bland. It's so bland. And using this stranger's backdrop, that he's recycling stuff that we've seen before time and time again. The fact that they're already in the house and you can see them, that they do the camera wipe essentially.
Hmm.
They walk in front of the camera where your character's, doing whatever unbeknownst to them.
Yeah.
And even like, because this is a chapter one, it ends with a to be continued, which, seeing that in theaters, unless you're Lord of the Rings or Harry Potter or, I don't know, something that has earned that, don't do that. Don't do that. You're not Dune.
Yeah.
Like, come on. Like, and I know it says chapter one, but it's just such it feels abrupt. And maybe that's because not enough has happened in the movie to make it interesting, to set it, to give itself its own identity. And I knew what going into this film that the reviews were bad, so made that bar lower than I already had, um and it still wasn't low enough. Like, I just really really disliked this film. And yeah, it loses all kind of credibility and everything by being that not just the worst install like the lesser installment of these three films now that we've gotten, but like such a far less film. I don't know. I don't see how they sell chapter 2 and 3 in theaters now. This might go to
Yeah.
streaming. Who knows?
And I read that uh Rennie Harlan said that he didn't want to make a shot for shot remake, but that's basically what he did, just worse. Is that
Yeah.
accurate?
Yeah, a little bit. And the fact that they took it, like, cuz maybe 2 and 3 will be better because this whole story has a town backdrop that we've really only seen in the beginning of this first film, which also includes Richard Brake, who is one of the best horror actors out there. Like, you've seen Barbarian, right?
Yeah.
And you've probably seen a bunch of Rob Zombie stuff,
Yeah.
right? So you know Richard Brake pretty well at this point. And you saw Doom, right? The the Rock, with the Rock
No.
and Carl Urban, 2005.
No. Carl
Richard Brake's
Urban's in
also
it?
in that. Yeah, Carl Urban's the main character in that film.
Oh, okay, maybe I'll
It
watch
was
it then.
before
I
he was
just
Carl Urban. Carl Urban. There was also a movie that came out around the same time, called Pathfinder, done by Marcus Nispel, who did the Texas Chainsaw remake from 2001, which you haven't seen, is a really fucking great film. Pathfinder, not so much, but Carl Urban's the main character of that movie too. Carl Urban was
Okay.
like, yeah, Carl Urban was in a lot of stuff, and then Dread really upped his game. Star Trek, being cast as Bones in Star Trek, really, I think, upped a lot. But I mean, you got to remember the guy came from Lord of the Rings.
Did he?
He was, yeah, he's in Two Towers, through to Return of the King. When Eowyn comes into it with the Helm's Deep, that whole part of the Lord of the Rings Two Towers, that Carl Urban's like their main warrior. I forget his character name, and I know a bunch of Tolkien fans, including Aunt Karen, are probably just yelling right now what his character's name is, and I'm spacing on it. But yeah, Carl Urban, because I mean, he's a New Zealand actor,
Right.
so he was. I think he was probably also on Xena. I've never seen all of Xena, so I have no idea. And then of course the boys. The boys really
Yeah.
put him on the map in a big bad way, because now he's Butcher for life.
Yeah, that's what he's immediately recognizable as for me.
Yeah. Which is really funny because the butcher in the comics looks like Henry Rollins. Where was I even on this? I was basically trashing The Strangers.
Yes,
hoping that
absolutely.
it gets better. Yeah, because they have a town to explore. So I don't know. I don't know where 2 and 3 goes. Um, but it better justify using an interesting horror backdrop. Again, this film is also written as well by Brian Bertino, who wrote the first 2 films as well. He has 2 other
Okay.
writers with him on this one. So I'm really not so sure exactly how expansive this is going to get, but they do have a town to work with. So I don't know. I don't know. I'm hoping good stuff for 2 and 3, but I feel pretty burnt by the first film. All right, let's move on to a fun action film. This is The Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare.
The British military recruits a small group of highly skilled soldiers to strike against German forces behind enemy lines during World War II. Starring Henry Cavill, Isa Gonzalez, Alan Richardson, Alex Pettyfer, Hero Finds Tiffin, Babs Alusin-Moken, Henry Golden, and Carrie Elwes. Directed by Guy Ritchie.
Again, Nazis. Bring in Nazis.
We always bring the
Always
nuts.
bringing
No, no.
Nazis. Just always bringing the Nazi. But this is like you've seen Inglorious Bastards before, right? Quentin
Yeah.
Tarantino. That's like if this movie is if that one was way more over to the top and had way more humor to it. This is like Henry Cavill and Reacher like gleefully killing Nazis. Like there's a scene where Henry Cavill comes into the room with like tongue out wagging like just like mowing Nazis down with with a machine gun. Like this is like Guy Ritchie is seriously having fun again in his filmmaking, and I really think it's this new writing and production team that he's working with because this the Operation Daguerre, the one with Jason Statham that was on Prime like a year and a half ago, like there's a bunch of movies he's making right now where he is just like making bombastic films again, and it's a lot of fun. Like this is a very different Guy Ritchie from the one that I fell in love with, which is like the movies like Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels and Snatch. Those are like fundamental building blocks in my movie love is movies from that era, that time, and Guy Ritchie in particular. So to see him kind of back and making really entertaining movies again is really exciting, and the cast really works in this. The fact that this is a true story, it's based on the secret diaries of Winston Churchill, who uh um Toby sorry Rory Kinnear plays in this. Rory Kinnear is the everyman in the movie Men.
Okay.
That's Rory
Okay, yeah,
Kinnear.
yeah.
Yeah, he was
Okay.
also in the most recent Bond movies and everything. Like he's been in a lot of stuff. He's a great actor, but he plays Churchill in this one under a bunch of makeup, and it's really great. This movie is really fun because I mean, one of the people that are reporting to him, played by Freddie Fox, is Ian Fleming, uh, a real life person who became a real life author who created James Bond. And it's said that Henry Cavill's character in this movie is who James Bond is based off of. So he gets to play this really stoic and full of bravado character that's also like kind of an asshole, and I think it just works really really well. The cast around them is both him and Alan Richardson is really great. Henry Golding is fantastic, and I really like this hero finds Tiffin, who's actually Ray Fiennes' son, who will be working with Guy Ritchie a lot more coming up for Netflix because he's going to be young Sherlock Holmes in this new series that they're making. So
Okay.
looking forward to that a lot. And yeah, I mean, all of the killing in this is so nonchalant and just like, I'm just doing it, but it's Nazis, so it's kind of like all gravy
Yeah.
in the end. So I don't know. I had a lot of fun with this movie. I think it's cool. And if you're looking for a good action movie with a bit of substance to it and a bit of history to it, not a lot of history, but a bit of history to it, this is definitely a fun movie. way better than The Strangers Chapter 1.
We won't talk about that
We won't talk about that anymore.
one.
But I don't know if you're looking for a good action movie, I think you would dig it. This one, I know you've been waiting for this one, but I'm excited to talk about it. And it is the directorial debut of one of Canada's greatest filmmakers' daughters. And the film is called Humane.
In the wake of an environmental collapse that is forcing humanity to shed 20% of its population, a family dinner erupts into chaos when a father's plan to enlist in the government's new euthanasia program goes horribly awry. Starring Jay Baruchel, Emily Hampshire, and Peter Gallager, directed by Caitlin Cronenberg.
And more than just them as well. Like that's just kind of the poster top list. This film also features Enrico Colantani, who steals every scene that he's in. He plays Bob in this film, and he like anytime he's in this movie, he is the focus. I feel of this film. He is so interesting. I love his dialogue, but I really like the script for this entire film. I really felt like Caitlin in her debut, Caitlin Cronenberg in her debut, really lets these actors play to their strengths and strengths that I mean, because two of the four kids are not good people. They're not
Yeah,
good people, but in their own way, those both Jay Baruchel and Emily Hampshire are playing to their strengths. Like they
yeah,
are
for
both
sure.
so good in this movie, and to have their dad be Peter Gallager is also really perfect too. And then when you find out that he was like a news anchor, and like there's just like the different layers to this movie is what I really really enjoyed about this movie. And um I mean, we're gonna get full spoilery here, but like the fact that they come together in the end, which is all that their dad really wanted for them on
Yeah,
his deathbed, was that that they come together and as siblings. Like that was his regret on his
yeah,
deathbed, what he was getting all weepy about. And I really enjoyed this movie. Like it is a high ranking movie for me, just for the themes that are at play in this movie, and how Caitlin moves these pieces on the board together, especially when they start when the violence starts. I
yeah.
think that's all really, really, really interesting, especially because all the setup is there. I don't know. I think this is a really well done film and such a bold film to make on your first movie.
I definitely agree. And I do like the implications that the film is making, like how like when comes to shove, like tough decisions will be made, and if you're not going to make them, then somebody will make them for you.
Hmm.
Um, and it's just it was a really intense film, I would say. Um, and I think specifically because of like the new government policies, like I'm sure that this wasn't specifically pointing out Canada, but like how we have medical assistance in dying now, and
Hmm.
it's like, yes, that is a good thing to have, but will there come a point where it's used against us?
Hmm.
And it's an interesting dystopian conversation to have.
Well, especially the fact that the government outsources to companies that are
Yeah,
more concerned about their deadlines and
yeah, it's just quotas.
exactly. So then it becomes less about human life and more about making your numbers,
Yeah,
financially hitting your targets all the time. And that I thought was really funny. I also the commercials,
yeah,
the announcing of people who have enlisted and stuff, as a
and
way
how
to
it's all
encourage
fabricated.
enlisting. Yeah, it's so interesting, and it's definitely got its heaping of distrust, and especially for Jay's Baruchel's job to be directly related.
Yeah,
And for like basically a talking head that's been going on pushing the government agenda. And yeah, I really dug it on those notes for sure. And I think it's fascinating that Caitlin, um like, because Brandon's films it feels like, oh yeah, you're a Cronenberg. There's definitely something Cronenbergian to antiviral for sure. Feels very Cronenberg. Um, and then recently, Infinity Pool. Infinity Pool feels very close to something that David would have made in the 80s. Um,
Hmm.
and I mean, Possessor to a certain regard. Possessor is just raw and so like visceral. There's just something hard edge about Possessor to me that feels it's like it's the DNA continuing.
Hmm.
Caitlin, besides a few wound things that I thought were kind of nasty, the through the hand, especially at the camera, doing the pullout at
Yeah.
the camera, I thought was effective. And then Rachel's face when she gets stabbed in the face.
Yeah.
There's because when he grabs her face and he sticks her face, but that's also that's like it's not it's when it comes to Cronenberg and body horror, it's very different. Very, very, very different. So I like that she went for her own voice right away. Because I feel like Brandon's antiviral, whether he wanted to or not, people were definitely thinking about his dad when they were watching that film.
Hmm.
But yeah, Humane's a definitely good watch. And I would recommend people watch this film. All right, let's I we don't have much this week. We don't have much, but let's see what's on what you can find easily streamable right now. That's right. What's on the pile this week? A big one is out this week, especially if you're a Star Wars fan. Sorry, Chloe, this one's not for you. It is Star Wars: The Acolyte.
A Star Wars series that takes viewers into a galaxy of shadowy secrets and emerging dark side powers in the final days of the High Republic era, starring Amandla Stenberg, Daphne Keane, and Jodie Turner Smith, created by Leslie Headland, and it's available on Disney Plus.
And Leslie Headland, one of her big contributions is Russian Doll on Netflix with
Okay.
Natasha Lyonne, which is a really, really great show, a really smart show, a really well written show, which is why I was really excited about The Acolyte. I got the first 4 episodes from Disney, and I'm gonna say because I don't want to get too far past the first episode, but I have watched all four, and I with all the previous Star Wars series, I was on board and really waiting for the next episode, like really excited about Wednesdays or whatever day that it was being released on, because like the Mandalorian, Obi-Wan, Book of Boba Fett, Andor for sure. Andor is like probably my favorite with Mandalorian at this point. Really excited about them. I'm not super pumped about episode 5. Like I haven't been set up with enough excitement that gets me into it. There's something that doesn't feel very Star Wars at the core of this show. The filter feels off. The world feels a little weird. And maybe that's because it's set in the in the New Republic and the tail end of the New Republic. And I'm just not excited about any of the characters in it. Even the stuff they've done with the Sith villain in this is so corny to me. Like it just all of his stuff is like basically him saying something tough and then turning on his lightsaber and holding it up and like looking at it. And I'm like, I don't care. I don't care. I'm having issues with this, and I mean, as far as we're recording, it came out today, and I'm seeing all these like reviews really liking it. I'm glad that people are really liking it. I love that people enjoy Star Wars, Star Trek, or whatever. Like, just enjoy your shit. I don't want to yuck anybody's yum at all. I'm just not feeling it. And it's like for the first time in one of these Star Wars series, I'm not feeling it. And I know there were people that hated Obi-Wan, that hated um the Book of Boba Fett, like have hated certain stuff in Star Wars. I for sure didn't like Rise of Skywalker, the last movie that they released. Um but yeah, I'm not feeling it on this one. So I will continue to watch it because I'm just a completionist at heart, but I don't know. I'm just not into this one at all.
Could it be that they're trying to steer it back towards a younger audience?
I
Trying to
don't
capture a new generation?
maybe, but I don't know how they're doing it because they're still I don't know, they're still immersing it in a canon lore, you know, so there is still kind of commanding you to like, oh, you should know this kind of stuff. But also at the same time, there really is no connective tissue to Star Wars stuff that we know in this. So I don't know. I don't know where they're losing me. I don't know. And I know what is going to come after this show is not any of the stuff that I'm saying. The stuff that people and the internet is going to come after is that it's woke, that it's got a female lead, it's got a female lead of color, like
Okay.
it has pride themes to it here and there. That's what it's going to come after.
But didn't Rebel have a female lead?
Yes, it did. Yes, it did. Rebel Moon.
Yeah.
Yeah, Rebel Moon. I don't know. They'll accept it from Snyder because they just eat whatever he has to give them up. It's slow-mo slop and they'll eat it.
All right.
I don't know what the fascination is, honestly, with him. Um it's kind of wild. It has to come down to like this dude bro mentality.
Right.
Um and it's the other thing that diminishes anything different, anything that tries to challenge it. It's even gonna interrupt and have immediate hate of anything James Gunn's trying to do with the DC universe. The Schneider bots and the Schneider bros are already amassing an army to torpedo anything that James Gunn is going to put out, especially with this Superman film. Especially with that. It's the
Wait,
toxicity of fandom or
so
anti-fandom.
they are making Superman black? Because I saw like jokes and like memes about it. No.
No. Superman actually looks very traditionally Superman. Actually, you've probably already seen um Superman, the new Superman in a movie. Did you see Pearl?
The horror movie?
Yeah, with Mia
Yeah.
Goth. You saw Pearl, right?
Yeah.
The guy that owns the movie theater is an actor named David Corenswet, and that is Superman.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I know who David Cornsweet is.
Yeah. Yeah, he's Superman. There's actually a picture of him out now, like a promotional picture, and I think he looks great. I think he has got a very Superman look to him.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be great. And Rachel Brosnahan is Lois Lane, which I think is freaking perfect. Marvelous Miss Maisel. You ever seen that show?
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, she's Lois Lane. It's like, are you
Yeah.
kidding me? Like, it's
What
freaking
what
perfect.
what's there to complain about? I don't really just because it's James Gunn or
Because it's James Gunn. Also, the fact that that people love to call James Gunn a pedophile
for
because
no reason.
some he made some dark tweet jokes years ago that people dug up.
Oh, who cares?
Yeah, exactly. So, but I think James Gunn's a great filmmaker. I really like all of
Yeah.
James Gunn's work. So I'm like, even the stuff that he's produced, like Brightburn is a pretty cool movie in a lot of ways.
Yeah. It kind of peeved me, but I did like the concept.
Yeah. Yeah, it's solid. What peeved you about it? We're so far off base right now, but it's fine.
Yeah, we're way. Um I don't know. It was just like the parents' decisions were just kind of stupid
Mhm.
and Yeah, it was mostly the Paris decisions that kind of pissed me off.
There's a lot of cool kills though.
Yeah.
The pickup truck drop out of the air and Buddy smashing his jaw out on the steering wheel is so crazy. That's such a
Yeah.
crazy death. It's so crazy.
Yeah.
But anyway, Star Wars fandom can be really toxic. So the moral of the story, not really enjoying the Acolyte. Maybe when I revisit it now that it's over, um I'll have a different feeling about it then. I don't know. I don't know. Let's move on to something that I think I am enjoying. This is Eric.
Vincent, a grief stricken father whose son goes missing, finds solace through his friendship with Eric, the monster that lives under Edgar's bed. Starring Benedict Cumberbatch, created by Abby Morgan, and it's available on Netflix.
And this is like a mystery drama, like an 80s set mystery drama that is riding at first on the fact that Benedict Cumberbatch is a really great actor.
Yeah.
And in this one he's doing this harsh New Yorker accent that's really good. And he's an asshole in this. Um, he's basically the creator and lead puppeteer of a children's show in the 80s. So, which is really
Okay.
weird to watch after watching Jim Henson Idea Man. And to see like that kind of creator shown in a different light. But then yeah, his kid goes missing, and the reveal at the end of the first episode, because I didn't watch any trailers. I didn't know what anything of this show was about, but the reveal that you're basically that Benedict Cumberbatch's character is going to go looking for his kid with the help of his imaginary friend that lives under the bed is such a crazy twist that
Yeah.
it floored me. And yeah, I'm in hook, line, and sinker. I'm into this, and I love the filter in which it's shot. And I again, Benedict Cumberbatch fucking rocks. That guy is just a really great character actor. And Abby Morgan is a great writer. She wrote Shame for Steve McQueen, starring Michael Fassbender. She also wrote The Iron Lady, the Margaret Thatcher biopic that won Meryl Streep an Academy Award. So she's no slouch. Um, but yeah, and it's also at Gabby Hoffman. So as a 90s kid, as an 80s and 90s kid, Gabby Hoffman was like a kid teen actor in the 90s. And now to see her as like a mom and everything in this, and I feel like she took a long break from acting, but she's really solid in this too. And yeah, I'm digging Eric so far. All right, now let's move on to the final one for this week. It is the Jared Carmichael reality show.
Follow the life of Gerard Carmichael through his encounters with friends, family, and strangers, all in a search for love, sex, and connection. Created by Gerard Carmichael, Eli B. Dupree, and Ari Catcher. Available on Crave.
This, I don't know. Gerard Carmichael is an interesting guy. He felt like years ago, he felt like kind of like a fringe comedian that you should, if you were into stand up comedy, you just knew about him. But it was his stand-up special, Nathaniel, that came out maybe a year and a half ago, or maybe just a year ago, that really that's when he arrived to me. And he's a stand-up comedian that I've never seen anything like him before, because it feels like maybe he has footnotes prepared that I'm going to talk about this, but it really feels like stream of consciousness, that he's talking through his own personal problems with the audience, and the audience is yelling back stuff back to him as well, and kind of like encouraging what he's going to say next or what answers he's going to give next. But he's like working through his problems um on stage, and it's funny at the same time. Like it's such an odd thing. And Nathaniel, that stand up is basically about him coming out to his mom, and his mom not accepting it, completely not accepting it, and just the damage that it's done to him. And this reality show is like almost a continuation of that. He's still dealing with the rejection from his mother, who's still very supportive of him at the same time. So it's like a very odd beat, and it's probably very odd for him to get through with like her not accepting a big core of who he is. And I mean, as far as this series goes, if his sexuality very much is at the core of this show, and it gets to uncomfortable degrees of like him meeting up with grinder dates and even searching through grinder and talking about his actions even in the bedroom and everything. Like there is no flinching in this show whatsoever. Like it's all out on Front Street, to the point that the beginning of episode 1 is him basically telling his best friend that he has feelings for them for the
Mm.
first time, and his best friend's Tyler the Creator.
Okay.
And Tyler the Creator is a guy that definitely does not bring out his emotions and feelings and stuff like that. And definitely,
No.
I think the text he sends back to him, he's like, "You're a silly bitch," is what he said to him when he says, I think I have feelings for you." It's like, "You're a silly bitch." That was the first thing that came up. And then they have like at the end of the first episode, they have like they meet, right, and they're in a hotel room and they're like talking, and it's so awkward. And I think this show revels in that, and Gerard kind of revels in that because it's a form of catharsis for him. And maybe it's not a form of catharsis. Maybe it's the opposite, and it will help to further damage Gerard Carmichael's psyche. But it seems like whatever he does for that will be better for him on stage, and he'll be celebrated more and more as like this original comedic genius. I mean, Nathaniel won an Emmy. He wins it in the first episode. Like he won an Emmy for that stand-up special, and people are really gravitating around this guy. And hell, he's even making it into big roles and stuff, because he was just in Poor Things and did some of my favorite stuff in that movie. Like I love his character and how him and Bella interact and what Bella takes from his character. I
Mm.
really loved that portion of the film, the cruise part. I really dug the voyage part. I really dug that stuff. So I'm a big Gerard Carmichael fan. So as uncomfortable as it is, I will continue to watch this show. All right. I think I gotta do some reminders.
But
Oh, ah, 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 ah. Hey, and I'm gonna help you out this week. If I don't die.
so what I've brought to the show this week is The Legend of Vox Machina.
After saving the realm from evil and destruction at the hands of the most terrifying power couple in Exandria, Vox Machina is faced with saving the world once again, this time from a sinister group of dragons known as the Chroma Conclave. Available on Prime Video.
I love this show. It's an animated fantasy show. So there's like druids, there's warriors, there's paladins, there's priests. It's it's like if you took basically every concept from every RPG game ever and made an animated show out of it.
Nice.
The characters behave as if they are like players in a game, and that's actually my running theory, is that the whole thing actually is a game. um I don't know if they'll go that deep with it though. But it, it the first episode didn't win me over too much, but I was like, "Yeah, I'll give it another episode and see if that changes." By the end of the second episode, I was just hooked in it. um they the budget is low. I don't want to say it's like to the floor, but it's not to the level of something as Invincible, but they
Mhm.
try to take it there. Like because there's lots of gore, lots of swearing.
Sweet.
It's an adult
I'm in.
cartoon. um and the gore is really really well done. Like there's multiple times where I'm like, holy shit. Like it's almost to the level that Invincible takes it.
Nice.
And I also want to point out that one of the main characters, because it's a group of 6 or 7 characters, like that's your main group is 6 or 7 characters, um, and one of the gnomes, named Pike, she is voiced by Ashley Johnson,
Yes,
who
Ashley
also
Johnson.
voices Ellie in The Last of Us, the
Yes.
games.
Yes.
Yeah,
And was in I think
and
she was in Avengers too. I think she's like a nameless like New Yorker that gets rescued by the Avengers.
and also David Tennant was in it, but only for the first, I think the first episode.
So they got him for the pilot.
Yeah, and he's like the first villain.
Oh, okay. Okay. Well, that's cool.
Yeah.
David Tennant adds cred right away.
This does seem like it was made by gamers for gamers. It
Yeah.
has that vibe to it, and it does get a little cheesy at times. Um, but that's just kind of part of the charm for me.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it sounds pretty cool. Sounds like something I'd be into for sure. And
Yeah, I definitely recommend checking it out.
that's Prime Video too. Yeah, I'm gonna check that out for sure. All right. So before we check out of here, I have a few reminders. That's right. This week's reminders. First one on DVD only. The Wicked Little Letters is available. This is with Olivia Colman and Jessie Buckley, two phenomenal actresses who just bring it every time. They're incapable of phoning it in. I reviewed it on the April 5th episode. And I also reviewed this next one on the April 5th episode as well, The Old Oak. um, this is Ken Loach's final film, and he is a filmmaker that informed my Vancouver International Film Festival experience many times over, and I will miss him. But I reviewed that on my blog. I did that for 2023. And this is a must see and a must own. Kino Lorber, I think, put it out, which is just a fun company to say, as well as a good DVD, Blu-ray producer. But just a brilliant, brilliant film. So The Old Oak, I highly, highly recommend checking that one out. And let's give you an idea of what I'm going to talk about next week. That's right. The taste of next week. And I had to make a juggling choice. It was either Bad Boys Ride or Die, which is getting really good reviews right now. And I like the Bad Boys movies too. And there's also a video on Twitter right now showing Will Smith filming an action scene with a camera rig that's
Hmm.
around a gun. Have you seen that video? It's
Yeah,
crazy looking. I want to see what this shot
yeah.
looks like now. I'm really kind of excited about what it's going to look like, because when they get innovative with action films, I get really excited. So
Hmm.
I'm really kind of excited to see how that turns out. But I chose The Watchers, which is M. Night Shyamalan's daughter's directorial debut. The trailer is really interesting, really ambiguous. I've only watched the teaser trailer for it, but basically you have a bunch of people in a room with a big open window, and apparently there's creatures on the other side that just watch them, and it's got Dakota Fanning in it. That's all
That
I know.
sounds awesome.
That's all I know. I'm down. I'm down.
Yeah, I'm in too.